Well, we may be coming out of Lewis, but I was watching an episode of Foyle's War the other night, which is set in the very historic and the lovely town of Hastings. And that's where we're going this morning to visit with our correspondent, Jane Watkins. And there she is in all her glory. Good morning, Jane. And how is Hastings this morning?
It's very grey and cold.
Well, like Lewis.
Yeah.
Right.
A bit dark.
You're slightly dark. If there's a chance of putting
another light,
it would help.
I don't know if that's made any difference. Is that any better? Slightly.
A little better, yes.
Slightly.
Anyway, you're looking wonderful this morning.
Thank you.
In fact, what you're going to talk to us about is murder most foul in Scotland. It's Scotland removed to Hastings because, as I understand it, there is a production of Macbeth taking place in Hastings. That it is either professional or semi-professional, that you have had a lot to do with the stage management, and that you're going to actually give us insights into what goes on behind the curtain. So away you go.
Yeah, so next, starting on the 4th of February until the 12th of February at the Stables Theatre in Hastings, Old Town, is a very groundbreaking production of Macbeth. I'm involved in stage managing production. So if people don't know, obviously you have the directors who direct the whole production. It's their vision until the actual play runs. So once the play runs, it then gets passed over to the stage managers. So I'm a bit of the sort of fly in the ointment, the health and safety person. No, you can't have drinks on the stage, or looking at the hazards, basically the trip hazards. For example, they want to pour drink into people's glasses at the banquet scene. I keep saying, are you sure you want to have liquid, because it's a trip hazard. So we have to sort of basically do the risk assessments for the whole the whole play, and make sure that the actors and everybody stays as safe as they can. Also, all the COVID regulations. If anybody wants to smoke, we might have a small scene where Macbeth is actually smoking, so then we have to get a license from the council to approve that, and obviously it's got to be extinguished straight away. So little things like the other night, Lady Macbeth has a lantern, and I was staring at it the whole time thinking it's got to be blown out because she's sitting there next to a little lantern. So I'm the one looking at sort of into it and the sort of the worries and concerns so that the play runs smoothly.
Yes, I actually spent a Canada Council fellowship many years ago for a year in the professional theatre, and it seems to me that the stage manager was always getting a little bit of flack because, for instance, the leading man would turn around and say, "Give me the suitcase," and the suitcase hadn't appeared on stage. So presumably, when Macbeth reaches for a drink, and if the goblet isn't there, it's you that should have got the goblet. Is that right?
Well, there is a team backstage. So in theory, there are costume people. We have a prop person. I have been involved in it a bit, if people can't come, because obviously it's a voluntary organisation. So, people have work commitments, so they can't always come to rehearsals. But in this production, which is quite unusual, it's a whole semicircle. All the actors are on the stage for the whole performance. So the actors, we're putting that onto the actors to make sure they've got their props, like their umbrellas, their cups, but there will be people in the sidelines. The things once the play's up and running, I'm in the corner on microphone head cans doing the sound cues and the lighting cues. So I can't then get involved with picking up props for people. So we've got other people that will be doing that for the run. So
are you the cue artist as well? I mean, if they falter, you whisper the line to them?
No, we've got a prompt. We have a prompt lady who's sitting on the other side. So this performance is very modern. So that basically all the actors are going to be on the stage in a semicircle, and behind that, because it's a world now of CCTV, we've got a projection. We've got 4 CCTV cameras running. So behind the actors the whole time is this CCTV is going to be running. So I think it'll be interesting to see how the audience react. It's not like, say, if you say a traditional Shakespeare where they're in, older clothes, they're in modern day clothes. And this CCTV, in some ways, it's a bit distracting because there's a time delay, so as they're speaking, and then you look at the screen behind, there's a few seconds delay. So whether that will, I'm not sure at the moment. I feel that because sometimes it's one big screen and then it's split into 4. So then you've got 4 parts where people are looking down at the cameras and things. It's meant to be, what's that modern thing at the moment? The Extinction Rebellion sort of theme. And in fact, there's cameras everywhere. And I think, I think people will love it, or if they're stalwarts of Shakespeare and they love it traditionally on stage, it might not be for them, but we'll have to see. We'll have to see.
Right. Well, in a moment, we had Fergus Wood on as our guest host this morning, and he took us through a lot of things that people would say that they know about wine and they don't. And a lot of people would say, "Oh, yes, I understand the theatre," and they don't. So I'm going to get you to describe how this thing starts. But first of all, I think it would be a good idea for you to tell us when and where this can be seen, what the price is, and so on.
Yeah, so it's on the 4th to the 12th of February at the Stables Theatre in Hastings Old Town. Performances, apart from Monday, it's closed on Monday, every night at 7:30. There's a Sunday matinee at 2:30. Tickets, I believe, are $14.50. If people are members of the theatre, it's slightly less. It's $8.50 for members. And so there's a bar, so you can get a drink, and there's a bar, you can have a intermission. Well, we weren't going to have an interval. We were going to run the whole thing. But I think at the moment we're still slightly question mark, but there is a bar. You can get an intermission drink as well. And there's a car park there as well.
Well, I'm laughing because the audience can get a drink and the cast can't.
I know, exactly. Not till it's finished, anyway.
Right, Jane. Now, to take us through carefully so that people understand, because I even though I flirted with the theatre, I've forgotten a lot and I don't really understand it, and it's all become very different nowadays. Take us through from where something like this, a project like this, gets started, and then you can bring us up to a curtain call, as it were, on next week.
Yeah, well, I think generally once a year the stables do put on a Shakespeare performance, but in terms of plays, they have to present their idea to the theatre. So the rest of the plays for the rest of the year, they present it to the theatre. There's a committee or a council, and they plan the year. The stables is moving forward and having they have like the fringe part of the fringe, Hastings Fringe, there later in the year, and they're inviting a lot more artists and theatre people from outside of Hastings at the moment. So, but it all has to be agreed, you know. So there's a balance of, you know, they don't want a year of comedy plays or they don't want a year of tragedy. They want a mix. They want a total mix. So once that's agreed, in January the theatre's what they call dark, so there aren't any performances. So that's January is the time to do maintenance and DIY and stuff in the theatre. And then previously we used to have a play a month, but the problem with that is there's a lot for the set builders, you know, to take down the set from a play, rebuild a set. So now it's slightly changing where some casts are coming into the theatre, so they're not set building every month. So yeah, it's slightly changed.
Right. How do you actually decide that you're going to do a modern version of it and not the classical Shakespearean type of play?
I think really that was the vision of the directors, who then would have presented their idea to the theatre. You know, they would have had a discussion about it. And, you know, as Neil, we interviewed Neil last week, didn't we? The director of the theatre said it was groundbreaking for the stables, because it's not, I say traditional format. There's all kinds of Shakespeare performances, aren't there, outdoor theatres and stuff, but it's very modern. You know, they're in modern day clothes. They're all on the stage, but nobody's going off and on and off. So you haven't got this action going, you know, people on and off the whole time. They're sitting on the stage the whole time, which was a concern for a while, because you thought actually 2 hours to ask people to sit. I know they're performing, but when there's gaps and they're not, you know, it's quite a long time to sit on the stage. But they've all agreed they're quite happy to do that. I think and once they get into the flow of it, you know, it kind of works, because once the pace picks up, you know, they're moving quite a lot, most of them. So
yeah, you're young and beautiful, and unlike me, I have a long elephant's memory about things. But it seems to me that there was a movie made called Joe Macbeth with Broderick Crawford, in which the play was set in Gangsterland in the United States. Did you ever see that, or did you know of it?
No, I haven't. I saw the Romeo and Juliet with Denzel Washington. That was a very modern version. And in fact, Denzel Washington is about to do a modern Macbeth. He was interviewed last week in the States, so I'll be interested to see his version of that. It might be out actually. It's about to come out in the States. So yeah. Right.
Well, there are two examples of what you're doing, but as your director has said, groundbreaking. Now, you were talking about a mixture of plays that your company will put on over a period of 12 months. Are you essentially a sort of a resident repertory company?
No, basically, there are members of the theatre. I'm a member. So if you know, in the old days before COVID, if you're a member, you can audition for parts. Some people are professional, some are semi-professional, and some it's just, you know, they volunteer, they want to be in a play. I've been in a couple of, I was in Blythe Spirit a few years ago. So you get the audition notices, you can audition. You can also get involved with front of house, backstage, have a go at anything. So if you're at school or college and you're interested in drama, or anyone actually, you're retired and it's want to have a hobby, it's quite a good community. So basically, as far as we're concerned, the cast and the backstage for Macbeth, we all come together for that, but we won't be working on the next play. They've got Dial M for Murder coming up. There'll be a whole new director. It'll be a whole different cast. Well, some people might be in it as well, but generally it's another team of people. So it gets disbanded and then moves to the
director. Is he professional?
Yeah, the director's Frances Viner. She's and Andrew Bruce. Frances was an actress quite a long time ago. She's worked on lots of period dramas like Clarissa, and directed several plays at the stables. Actually, yeah, she's got quite an accomplished career. Yes.
How many other people are professional?
There's a Matt Hastings who plays Macbeth. He's a professional, and Mary Campbell, who is Lady Macbeth, went to drama school. There are a few other local people who are drama teachers locally. They're all involved in drama in some way or other, and that's their passion. So,
and how big is the cast?
There are 16 at the moment. We had a few more, but a couple have dropped out. So now we've got some of the actors and actresses, performing 2 parts. So it's a quick costume change or a quick coat change to go become a different character. Yeah. So currently we've got 16, and then we've got about 5. We've got about 10 people backstage, and then we've got the lighting. Next week it's all tech lighting and sound rehearsals next week. So that'll be me kicking in to make sure that I have to follow the script, put in the sound cues and the lighting cues to follow the script. So if it says thunder, I've got to cue the guy in the sound box to cue the thunder, or falling in, that kind of thing. So that's all. Will be all next week now.
You've got to concentrate a great deal.
Yeah, it's quite intense. It will be intense, yeah, because basically you're in the corner in the dark as well, all in black in the dark with headphones on, and also the added complication for this performance is we've got this CCTV running as well, so which is being operated from the other side of the stage. So I'm going to be quite mindful that that's going to work.
Right. Now, a few years ago, I was invited to go, I think it was to the Barbican Theatre in London, to watch a performance of Coriolanus. And I wasn't really quite that familiar with Coriolanus, only to find out there's about 6.5 hours.
Oh, yeah.
Not quite that long, but it's very long. How long is this performance?
Well, at the moment it's running the first half, because we were going to do it without a break. So it's 1 hour, 5 minutes, the first part, and then we're going to split it. The second part is 55 minutes. But that's rehearsal time. So I think they might shave a few minutes off that. So yeah, it'll be about 2 hours. I mean, it's not.
No, it's very reasonable. Yeah.
But I mean, the thing is that for people, we've got quite a lot of school groups coming to see it. The language, it's quite intense because of the language. And, if people aren't used to the language, getting to grips with it, I think 2 hours is a good enough time.
The bum doesn't get numb in that time.
That's it. I think they're nominated to hopefully have an intermission. I said, people want to drink. And also the theatre will want the revenue for the bar as well.
Jane, the theatre itself, can you describe it? How many seats? What sort of facilities? I mean, I've been up to the Old Town, as most people have, and I've gawped to where Foyle's War was made. Somehow I missed the theatre, so perhaps you could tell me exactly where it is and what it has as a capacity. Yeah,
it's in the Bourne. It was originally a stable block, and then in the 1950s it was converted into a theatre. So it's pretty well staged, rectangle down to the stage. I think it holds 120 seats. We have a Gwen Watford, like a bar area, a lounge sort of area, then a bar area. There are obviously toilets. And downstairs, we have an art gallery. So every month there's a different exhibition in the art gallery as well. So at the moment, Yvonne Rees, who's the curator, is putting together an exhibition related to Shakespeare and Macbeth. So I'm looking forward to seeing those pictures and what's coming in in the art gallery as well.
Yeah. Now, do you plan to stay in touch with us and give us a running commentary, as it were, over the period of the play, how it's going and so on?
Yeah, certainly. I can. Yeah, certainly. Give it a couple of days, see how.
Yeah, it just here and there.
Yes.
We're very much now at Mirador doing spot stuff. I'm learning this really from the television operations in the States that are very much like us, and they just pop up without anybody saying anything. Is, hi, we're here, and this is what's happening, and then they go away again. And it's not a bad way of doing things. So whenever you feel moved to just pop up and give us an ongoing chat, we'd love to hear from you.
Yes. So today, obviously, there's another theme, isn't there? Look, I've got it here. Wait a minute, go that way. It's Burns night tonight.
Ah, right. Yes.
You can't really see. It's a bit dark. There's a little tartan pot with some heather in it because tonight I'm going to a Burns night dinner celebrating Robbie Burns. And
I love Burns night dinners. It must be 10 years since I've been to one. But they are jolly good fun. And the tatties and the neeps.
Yes.
And the wee dram.
Yes.
And the haggis.
Yes, I'm sure that Scots in Scotland, and around the world, some will or some won't be celebrating Burns night tonight. But I think the English quite like celebrating Burns night. And any excuse. Yeah, so it's good that it's actually going to go ahead. I spoke to a Scottish friend yesterday who's a member of the Burns Club in near Lossiemouth, and he said because the rules are different in Scotland, they've had to cancel theirs tonight. So fingers crossed, we're lucky that it's going to go ahead tonight.
Well, let's hope the cancellations of such things are getting less and less and less. But once again, it's funny. What I'm finding is in talking to almost a new generation because of lockdown, is that a lot of the things which we took for granted before, such as Burns night, people say, "Oh, what's Burns night?" So why don't you fill everybody in about because a famous poet? And why do we celebrate Burns?
Well, Robbie Burns, I think, was a prolific poet and writer. He was recommended to write some of his poems in English because they thought he would get a wider audience. He loved the women. He had 9 children from one woman and children with another woman. So he had 12 children. So for Burns night tonight, they have the toast, for the haggis. And I've been asked to say the speech. So basically the laddies address the lassies. He wrote a poem about the lassies and about creation, basically, called God she, and that she created man, and it wasn't very good, and so she, i.e. God, created a woman, and so he probably got away with quite a few things that maybe we wouldn't nowadays, because I've been invited to write the lassie's speech to the laddie, and I emailed the chap who's doing the laddie speech. I don't think we should do this in these days, with different how people identify, their gender, and so it all started to get a little bit complicated.
Yes. Well, I mean, what my view would be is don't break with tradition. Tradition is
well, I think important. That's what
the origins and thing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I think a lot of people don't realise, Robbie Burns wrote Auld Lang Syne. Most people probably sing it New Year's Eve, and My Love Is Like a Red, Red Rose.
I thought that was Philip Sidney.
No, that was Robbie Burns.
Well, there we are. I've just learned something.
Yeah. So there'll be probably bit of Scottish dancing tonight, lots of tartan.
If I start to quote My Love Is Like a Red, Red Rose to a lady, I better be careful. I might end up with 12 children.
Yes, that's right. Yes. Yes. Yeah. So.
Actually, two little stories, if I may. First of all, in London, in I think it's Sloane Square, is the Caledonian Club.
Oh yes.
And whatever else you may get at the Caledonian Club, they always have haggis on, and they always have with it tatties and neeps and the wee dram. So, would you like to explain first of all what a haggis is?
I don't know what is. I don't know what's inside it. Is it stomach lining?
It is a stomach lining, and
my
understanding it's stuffed with sort of we would call sage and onion stuffing and all that sort of stuff.
It can be quite gritty. It can be quite gritty. I mean, I'm not a fan really myself.
I quite like it actually. Yeah, it's not something I would want to eat every day of the week, but I quite like it. Yeah.
Yeah. And then obviously the mashed potatoes.
Potatoes and neeps.
Are they swede or turnips? I can't remember.
I think it's turnips.
Yeah, turnips and mashed together, and then a liquor like a sauce, which is quite nice.
And the dram.
The whiskey sauce.
The glass of whiskey. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, my second story is that I was working in Switzerland, and the official of a bank, for some reason, was heavily involved in Scottish bands, Swiss Scottish bands.
Really?
And he was working with me, he said, "I've got a special lunch for you today." And we went over to a hotel and settled into a dining room, which was private. And suddenly the pipes started up, and in walked the chef with haggis, tatties, neeps, the dram, the whole works.
Really?
A French cameraman and a German sound man. The Frenchman sat there and wouldn't touch it. The German just got up and raced out of the place. He couldn't possibly take a look at it. So I didn't have to share it with anybody. But it's amazing, as you say, in many, many parts of the world, how Burns and the Scottish culture has spread.
Yeah. Well, it's essentially haggis. I have to looking it up now. It's a savoury pudding containing sheep's pluck, minced with onion, oatmeal, suet, spices, and salt.
Well, it wasn't far off. Yeah.
Yeah, encased in an animal's stomach, so that not something for a vegetarian or a vegan. But, sometimes to me it tastes a bit gritty, but it can be okay.
Yeah, I mean the Americans can get very fussy about what they eat. For instance, they don't eat veal because they don't like the idea of a calf being killed. And yet Burns Night is celebrated right across the United States. I mean, the far reaches of British Columbia. I was always invited to a Burns Night dinner. So, what you're doing tonight is replicated hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of times in different places. And I'm very glad that it is.
Yeah, so I should be saying to everyone, Slan Shivar, shouldn't I? Which is good health.
I'm surprised you didn't have a bottle of whiskey on in front of you.
Maybe later. I've got to go to work first.
Jane, we've been on for 9 minutes. It's 09:57. We've been on for 28 minutes now, believe it or not. It's always amazing to me how the time goes by when you're talking about interesting things. But one of the things I just wanted to say to you was that we replayed, courtesy of Facebook, I think it was, a program that you did on how to use household bits and pieces to make something useful. And it had, when it was originally shown, I mean, and this is only on Facebook, which is it's only a section of the people, but it had something like 350 people watching it on that particular Facebook page. But since it's been shown, that's gone up to about 700.
Really?
Yeah.
Jane Gets Crafty. Well, I have put some clips together. I have been doing some other projects. In fact, this is one of my Jane Gets Crafty. It's a tin. Let me go that way. It's a tin which I've glued some tartan fabric to. So I believe that Tony's putting those together. So hopefully there'll be episode 2 coming soon.
Well, we'll look forward to that. I mean, that was a very good program, and I hope that you're going to redo it.
Yes.
I mean, not only was it popular, but also people found it very useful. And I think that if you can actually entertain and educate at the same time, you're really doing a good job. But also, I hope that once you've got through this production of Macbeth, that what you will do is join us, as indeed there is one person each day joins me for the morning show, the Egg, and looks at the papers with me and makes comments and brings, because it brings to people what's happening out there in the world without us lecturing to them. It's always good fun with interesting people. So I hope that you're going to be join the team. At the moment, there's Fergus Wood who does it, Stuart Dolby, who we're now billed as Ollie and Stan after Laurel and Hardy, because we never get around to anything that we can take seriously. And he knows the Johnson family quite well, so he has a little poke at Boris. And strangely enough, I had lunch with Boris's dad on Sunday. On Sunday, who was down here giving a lecture, and I was fortunate enough to be able to have lunch with him afterwards. And what an interesting man! And then we have our hairdresser, Andrew Sloan, who comes on a Friday, a Thursday, and then I'm left to my own devices on a Friday. So you can have your pick of either Monday or Friday at the moment. So think about it when you finish your sessions with Macbeth.
That's right.
Now, Now, at what point does Macbeth have his throat slit?
I know. Should I give any spoilers? I mean, if you know the play, you know what happens. But if you don't,
right. So in other words, it is a mystery play.
Well, it's not really. I mean, it's quite sinister. It's quite dark. You know, Lady Macbeth and Macbeth, their relationship's very intense, and it's almost like there's a change of, you know, to begin with, she's not controlling him. She's the one instigating, you know, pushing him to murder the king, which he does, and then he, you know, they both go slightly mad over the whole thing. He can't cope with what he's done. She starts sleepwalking. You know, and then I won't say too much, but at the end there is a new person in charge. So it's quite interesting, the dynamics though. I think, you know, there's lots of layers, like the relationship between them, how basically people can be manipulated and coerced to maybe do something. You know, she was goading him for the murder to begin with, and then how their relationship switches, and he then becomes quite controlling of her. So, but it affects them both as well very deeply. What, you know, what they've done. So can relate to that.
Jane Watkins, Our Lady in Hastings, a lovely town, particularly the old town. Is intriguing and interesting. You'll be seeing much of Jane over the next few months. But for the moment, tell us, Jane, again, when your play takes place.
Yeah, so the 4th to the 12th of February at the Stables in Hastings Old Town. 7:30. Apart from Sunday, there's a matinee at 2:30, and you can get tickets online at stablestheatre.co.uk. See you there. Okay.
Well, good luck with it. And since you are the key person, that if the thunder doesn't thunder when it's supposed to,
the bell's ringing at the wrong time. So it's Jane. Blame Jane.
A lot riding on your shoulders, my darling. A lot
riding. I know.
See you soon, Jane.
Yeah, thank you, Keith. See you soon. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.
Well, there we are. Jane Watkins and Macbeth in Hastings Old Town, the theatre there. It sounds like a wonderful little theatre, but a semi-professional production, and I urge you to go and take a look. It is now 3 minutes past 10. Outside, it's creeping towards 5 degrees, but that's as much as it's going to go. The wind is fairly light. Yes, let's look at the trees outside. Indeed, they are not wandering, waving much. So the breeze is very light it is dull and dour, but the cloud is actually quite light. It's quite thin. No rain, but whether we'll see any sun or not, I don't know. Mirador Television, we've been with you ranting and raving since about 6 o'clock this morning. And if anything happens during the day, particularly the tense situation in the Ukraine, on the border with Russia, the Russian Federation, we will be eager to bring you up to date. I'm not going to say we'll be first with the news. I've never ever thought that being first with the news is ever satisfactory to anybody. What it is just to make sure that you are accurate with the news. So we look forward to seeing you if things happen, and if not, tomorrow morning with Andrew Sloan. It is with Stuart Dolby tomorrow, Ollie and Stan. And if you can make any sense out of the nonsense that we go through together, you're a better man than I am, Gunga Din. So, toodle pip, and we look forward to seeing you tomorrow, if not before. Toodle